That's what we gave Judge Scalia, and it separates what the law, what lawful American bloodline. Okay, and then, so, you know, it's doing the real research and knowing what the truth is, because there are structures out there that prove the separation of lawful and legal on bloodline through even congressional administrative rules that me and Dave went through on that and put it in that letter. So, Dave, see that you got that. Go back. We're live now. It just came back up on my screen, too. So go ahead, Dave.
Okay. Well, what I was getting at with Michelle when she said petition, we don't want to file petitions. We want to file affidavits with claims. Because
I'm
that
agreeing.
will carry by far more weight than any petition you will ever file. An affidavit of truth, an affidavit of fact, and you list them as claims, and then you can get your remedy. So forget petitions. Go with affidavits. In admiralty, go with just affidavits, because an affidavit in admiralty and an affidavit have to carry the same 5 points.
Well, that's true. An
affidavit along with a criminal complaint form. You've got them. They have no wiggle room.
Well, I agree with you as far as I meant with the public as far as the society.
No, we can't do that. We have to
society itself. Once they
assume that one.
Affidavit hanging on the door, they're going to go, "Holy what?"
Yeah, that's true.
Because
I won't argue on that note.
If you do not rebut an affidavit within, it's a corporation, 20 days, 21 days.
21 days.
It stands as truth.
Well, did you? I've been looking up codes and stuff regarding the Constitution as to criminal matters, since I'm trying to finish up this conclusion stuff, and I was trying to see if there was anything I was leaving out as far as on my conclusion. And so far, evidently, I can't find anything else that's jumping out at me. So I guess I've covered everything. But here, this is a manual. It says United States Attorney, and it's USAM Title 9 Criminal Resource Manual.
Yeah.
Huh?
U.S. Attorney's Manual.
Oh, okay. So you're familiar with it? All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because that's what I came across that code as to the manual code, and that's the first time I've seen it. As far as the manual code, I've seen the statutes and stuff that they're talking about, but that's the first time I've seen them actually say criminal resource manual.
If I remember right, there's all kind of court cases listed in there.
Yeah, there is.
Charges. What's the other thing that's in there? Something else in there.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. There's all kinds of case laws that they cite.
I can post it up on our wall so we can get that out to other people for educational purposes.
Yeah.
I believe I shared it already on Facebook. I'll have to check, but I think I just shared something on Facebook when I was looking up one of these codes.
Oh, you did? Hi, Wall. You might have shared it on yours.
Well, when I put it on. I shared it with everybody that's a friend of mine, so it should go right to you. In other words, it should go in your. It's probably in your spam folder.
May mail it. So, are you talking 42 USC 1988?
I'm not looking at the code itself, but it would be under the 42. Yeah, 42 USC.
42. Okay.
Yeah. Under Title 18. I'm talking about criminal code, so it would be under Title 9, Ed.
Oh, okay, wrong one.
12 could be under 9, could be under 18.
True. Well, it should. Well, definitely it'll be under 18.
Yeah.
I posted something on Facebook. Earlier today, when I was looking up some stuff on definitions, that was under. Title
USC
18.
1988 was your last post.
Okay, that's one of them. Okay, that's it then. That was what on Facebook. And anything that I usually post through Facebook, if you're a friend of mine, it should go in your spam folder as an email. At least they used to, unless they don't do it anymore.
I haven't received, but I'm not there. So anyhow, I got this one. I'll get this one out.
So yeah, I was just well, I guess I got everything covered then, because that's the only codes I find as far as criminal goes under Title 18, and what's being mentioned under Title 9. So I pretty much got it covered then. Other than the case laws is awesome.
Okay, got it.
Let me ask you a question, Michelle. Has the attorney that is going to prosecute this, has she been in touch with you yet at all?
No, they wanted me. That's what's kind of funny. They told me to go home and draft up my my instrument, and then when I was done with it, to bring it in. So I said, "Oh, okay, that's fine. That's what I'll do." Okay. So they're basically just waiting on me. I think she's a female.
I would suggest this to you. You mail it to them, priority mail certified.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I was thinking that myself. Isn't that funny that you just mentioned that?
Because to me, I smell a skunk.
Yeah, me too. Oh my God, you do too, huh?
I don't want you walking into a trap.
Yeah. Yeah. See, you and I are on the same. Now when you thought that, because you bringing that up to my attention, my mother used to say to me, when somebody thinks the same thing that you're thinking, that's usually, in other words, follow your instincts.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying not to go there, but I would send them a copy first, and make sure you send yourself a copy priority mail, and you leave it in your evidence bag unopened. Okay?
Oh, good
then
point.
You can go in and give them another copy of it. Just hand them a copy of it. But in the meantime, you've already established your, shall we say, jurisdiction by your unopened mail and evidence.
So when I go, so I know how to do that, like what you're saying, to make sure I got it correctly. When I go to get this instrument notarized, in other words, send it by mail to my address in an envelope. Is that what you're saying?
That gives you the evidence that you served it, and in court you can say, "Oh, I happen to have the proof that I served it because I sent myself the same copy, but I didn't open it so it wouldn't be contaminated."
Okay, I see now. Good point. That's a good point. All right, so that's what I will do. Now it's funny. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was thinking about that myself. So see, now that you brought that to my attention, I was thinking that, and I was like, I better do that. So that way they can't come back and say that I didn't give them the document, or the instrument, I should say. Excuse me.
They can't say you never noticed this, because now
that too.
Now you got them.
All right. That's a good point.
And before you take your little sticker off of your certified mail, your little green card.
Yeah.
What I do is, instead of putting the green sticker, the black sticker on it, I take a black magic marker and I write that number on the return address where it comes back to you. That way
okay. So in other words, you have both.
So then you put the original in your evidence thing that you're going to mail to yourself, and voila, you have all the information you need.
That's a good point. So in other words, the one I'm going to send them, write the number on the envelope or on the package itself, but keep the little sticker.
Put it on the green card. Put it on the green card. That's coming back to you.
I got you. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Priority mail on the green card.
Putting up an evidence bag.
Yeah, and then the one you get back, with addressed to yourself goes into the evidence bag unopened, and voila,
correct.
when you open it up in court, you go, well, here's the sticker.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay. All right, that's what I'll do then, because I know that when you do the cards at the post office, they have the little white tab that you peel off.
Mail.
Yep, that's the one I'm talking about. That's the one that goes in your evidence bag. That number.
Right.
Goes
So
on
that's the one you want me to. In other words,
yes,
correct, I peel that off, but I keep it and I handwrite the number off that has to do with that peel off number. In other words, I write that on the one I'm gonna.
On your registered mail goes onto your green card. So that way, when it gets sent, the green card gets off, you have the original one stamped from the post office. Then when your green card comes back, it already had it on it, so you already have the evidence that it was there received by them on a certified mail and registered mail.
Don't confuse her, Ed. Don't confuse her, because there's two green cards we're dealing with. One is the one that she's going to get back that she mailed to herself, and the other green card is the one she's going to mail to the prosecutor.
Right, but I'm saying is that you're putting all that into an evidence bag. So when you get your envelope back, you don't open.
I've already stated to her.
Green card that goes into a file for your evidence.
Yes.
Yeah, I got that.
Stated to her, Ed.
I got that part. What I was trying to get clarification on is the little white tab with the number, the serial number. Uh-huh. I was going to. Normally, you peel that off and you put the white seal number on the envelope that you're going to mail out to them.
No.
So what I was saying,
That goes on the green card.
That's right. You're correct. Okay, that's right. It's been a while since I've done it. You're right. That's right. It goes on the green card. Yeah. Okay.
So
Disregard what I was thinking. I got it.
You're going to write that number on the green card and stick the original in your envelope and mail it back to you as evidence.
I got you now. What you're trying to say to me. That's what I was trying to get clarification on. Okay, I got you now. That's a smart idea. I'm going to definitely do that. And so what I'm going to do is, because what I was going to do is I was going to take my instrument into the sheriff's department and have it notarized, and I was going to see, because I'm having it notarized from the sheriff's department, they would have the seal, the sheriff's seal, and I was going to have the girl stamp it. My instrument with the sheriff's seal, besides her just notarizing it. Now I don't know if they do that with the sheriff's department, but that's what I was kind of hoping. If not, it's not a big deal. But I was kind of hoping that I would get the girl from the sheriff's department, the notary, when she stamps it, it would have the stamp also that it was.
Yeah, the sheriff has 2 or 3 notaries, one per shift.
Right. So I was kind of hoping that, because I'm having it witnessed from the sheriff's department, that she would, in other words, stamp it with the sheriff's seal. Maybe they can't do that. I don't know. You follow me what I'm saying?
I know what you want.
Yeah. So if not, it's not a big deal. But I was just kind of like the same scenario with the court seal, you know.
Here's my thinking on that, Michelle. If you're going to get it notarized, I would go somewhere else beside the sheriff. Have it notarized by the time you enter the sheriff's department.
Okay. All right. That's what I'll do then.
Smart.
Okay.
Because they could pull a fast one on you. You end up in jail, and you wouldn't even know what hit you.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Not much.
Because you don't know what games are playing on you.
Well, you know, that is true. I mean, even though they know that I'm innocent, and just like you said, they're claiming, you know, that I am definitely a true victim and all this and that. I know that they haven't been honest, because some of the things that they've done, they've actually, in other words, hindered prosecution.
Yeah, obstruction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing. I was looking up all those little hidden codes, thinking that maybe I could find any other ones. Unfortunately, there's only really 3 that they mention.
Okay.
So I got it covered then.
I'm glad this is finally coming to rest to you. Boy,
oh my God, me too, buddy. Well, I was trying to think of other things I could try to find to add in the conclusion. Unfortunately, I can't find anything else, so I pretty much I did add the false or misleading representations. I added that, the whole thing, which you sent me.
Okay.
And the other one that you sent me was on the communication with in connections with debt collection.
Oh, okay.
I added. So I did add. I ended up adding both of those 2 paragraphs that you sent me. I ended up putting them in my document, or instrument, I should say.
Very good.
Yep. So I did put those in there. The one especially is awesome. I like the one on the false, misleading representations. That one really.
Part E.
Yeah, it really. That's 16 definitions.
That burns them, boy. Woo.
Yeah, that's about the best one. The other one is good too, because it clarifies what they're not supposed to do and what they're supposed to do as to debt collectors.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
now, go ahead.
I want to get back to what we got going here, because apparently DL hasn't shown up tonight, and I don't see Mike showing up tonight too. So we can't get the uprings on both of those 2 cases that we wanted to get into tonight. So we've been here for 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I'm looking at if anybody would like to have the floor, has got some things that I would like to bring up to the table here, so we could get worked out, or if we could move on, or Dave, we could look at wrapping it up here.
Yeah, let's open it up to Q&A and see if anybody has anything else they want to ask us.
Yes. Anybody else? Okay, I guess no. So, okay. So, Michelle, you got that point where Dave was coming out to put your evidence package together just for the sake of argument?
Yeah, I did. And I'm glad that he mentioned it, because when the old saying, when more than one person thinks the same thing, that usually says, in other words, follow your instincts. So he was thinking the same thing I was thinking, and now that he was thinking what I was thinking, I'm going to definitely move forward on and do that.
Well, you and I have been working this on how many months? You and I are almost thinking the same patterns anymore.
Oh my God, let me tell you, it is kind of scary, isn't it? The gentleman that was on the phone a little bit ago, the elderly man that was on the phone, one thing I have discovered, and I outlined it in my paperwork here, and that is as to what he was what we were all talking about, and what you were talking about earlier, as to how they're controlling us as we the people. Well, it comes right down to, just as we were claiming, with the Bar Association. And the Bar Association, that's why they removed the 13th Amendment. The statement as to the original statement.
It's never been removed, Michelle. They just dropped it out so people didn't know it.
Well, they might have dropped it out, but it's still under the termination as being removed. And if you can't see it in front of your face, and it's not on that piece of paper, they removed it. They removed the statement from that piece of paper as to the Constitution. So that's a form of withholding evidence and misleading evidence upon the people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so, as you pointed out the other night on the show too, Michelle, that title of nobility was also put in the Constitution under the powers forbidden to Congress, Section 9(8). And it states, no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any public office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of Congress, accept of any present, emollient, office, or title of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state. And then I went on to make that statement about Sir Ted Kennedy, as where the Queen came over here and knighted him as Sir Ted Kennedy on the Senate floor. And
see there?
Not one person except me, perhaps, made a comment on
it. That's because they probably didn't know what to say on it. I mean, it's amazing what people don't know.
So even if the 16th or the 13th Amendment was never ratified to the point where they wanted to let it be known, I'm sorry, but under things forbidden to Congress, Section 9(8), it's right there. You're done.
Well, and and that's my point. That's why the bar, because remember, it comes right down to who did it, and we know who did it, and that was the attorneys and lawyers did it. The Bar Association
did
it.
While they were elected to Congress.
That's right. And they did it illegally or unlawfully. I mean, they
committed treason against the Constitution the minute they did it.
That's right. And isn't it funny? Isn't that funny? How nobody wants to come forward and point the finger as to who did it? Geez, I wonder why.
I think they wrote a book called None Dare Call It Treason. I got news for you. I call it treason.
Me too.
I don't care what anybody else calls it.
I agree with you on that note. Mm-hmm. Well, so I did an explanation in my paperwork regarding the 13th Amendment and what it stood for, and how it played out as to what we're talking about on that subject. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. We have any further questions from anyone?
Doesn't appear to be right now at this point.
Nobody's muted, right?
No, nobody's muted that I know of.
Okay. It's awful quiet.
So, well, I guess we'll just probably call it a night tonight.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And, we'll get other information for next week. I'm going to have an update on the recall because I'm doing an affidavit for the recall, and so I'll have that publicized next week.
I got one question. David, you earlier on the call, you were talking about a phone number and some kind of a phone conference. You said it was on Thursdays?
Yeah, it's a Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's with Freedom Law School in California and Florida. They have a branch in Florida, Michelle. The number I have here is 813 444
4800. 4800. And that's going to be on Thursday at 6 p.m.?
I would
I am from...
make sure that you have... this may not be the conference call number. This may be the number to the school. I wrote it down. I wrote the number down on an envelope, but I forgot to put on there if that was the call-in number.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I am familiar with them. They do seem to be pretty good. I don't know. I mean, I was glad to hear that they reached out to you.
On tax fraud, defending people in tax cases. That's the reason why I call them. I'm going to see if I can get them to help represent me on my tax case going into the Federal Court of Claims.
Okay. Well, I hope they do. I mean, they
Oh,
they give out all kinds. They send out all kinds of literature.
Oh, I know.
And they're always asking. Excuse me. They're always asking for donations and stuff. You know.
Now this will be probably the biggest case that if they take this will be the biggest case they have ever had. Because
I hope we'll see what they do with it, David. They go by it's the Presidential Advisory Board. It's the Republic National Committee.
Muted.
National Committee, RNC.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep. So
yeah, I'm going to try to talk the RNC into filing treason charges against the Democratic Party for wanting to become a democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I agree. Oh my God! Now, isn't that funny that you just brought that up? Now, see that? I should go back and read that little paragraph to you guys. It's funny that you just mentioned that because that's what I was just talking about.
Because that's exactly what they're doing. You cannot have a democracy in a republic.
Yeah.
That just don't work.
I hear ya. Well, isn't that funny? Because that's exactly what I just defined when I was talking about the 13th Amendment, what it really stood for as to slavery. In other words, it was against slavery. And in law, regarding the law, because remember, in the law it talks about addressing us as a whole or in part.
Mm-hmm.
So the 13th Amendment has to do with the law itself too, and it was to stop the Bar Association from having, in other words, it was to stop them from having full control over the people.
It was actually to stop the lawyers and attorneys from doing that.
Right. That's exactly. Yeah, that's what I meant. As to the 13th.
Back then, they didn't have a bar association. They didn't have the lawyers guild or anything else. They were lawyers, and they got thrown out of England, if you remember. That's how bad of an impression they made in England. The English crown ran them out.
Mm-hmm.
They landed up over here.
That's true. This is what I say. I say that the 13th Amendment was against slavery. It put an end to controlling the people as a whole under law. The 13th Amendment was against slavery. I'm sorry. I was reading that twice. It put an end to controlling the people as a whole through barratry under law. It also put a stop to a conflict between the people from those who were also running for office as our presidents, as in the presidency and Congress. And then I go on and I say a little bit more. It says, as stopping it from being all one-sided by controlling the people as a whole through law. It had nothing to do with being white or black as you claimed. Remember, I'm talking to them like as them, okay? Right. As you claimed, dealing with slavery. That said, now I ask that you put the original 13th Amendment statement back into law. It will stop this fraud upon the people and put a stop to those acting above the law or our laws is what I say, and will also save the United States from those committing treason through law. The funny thing is I go on to say it's time that we follow the Constitution and the original constitutional form of our government that also stands for a republic form of government under our laws, that also stands for what the United States flag stands for, a republic, and stop the BS democracy movement that only stands for a one-sided ruler under law as controlling the people as a whole through slavery, as it being all one-sided, nothing in between. Then I go on to say, just like with these fraudulent foreclosures that took place through barratry, stealing homes through the bank's system on fraudulent transfers, on paper money out of thin air that also has no value, but instead took lawful money from the people through a form of identity theft by using the bank's system, is also called a form of theft.
Right.
So that was my definition pertaining to the 13th Amendment.
There you go. There you go. I think you covered that pretty well.
I tried to. I was trying to think of how to use my words, you know.
I was trying to remember. You triggered a thought, and then you kept reading, and I didn't write it down. I could kick myself for that because I had another point to throw in there.
Well, you'll probably think of it. So when you think of it, just give me a jingle. It was funny because earlier when I was looking up some stuff, I actually called you, but you must have not been home because I wanted to ask you a question, and I can't remember now what it was, but it was something I was looking up anyway, and it had something to do with what you had touched on. Anyway, I wanted to get your input on it, and
okay.
I'll be darned if I can remember now.
Yeah, I have to apologize to our listeners because I get extremely excited when it comes to criminal activity. I don't care who's doing it; they're criminals. That's the bottom line. And so if I upset some of you by calling our congressmen crooks or thieves or whatever, or other members of the judiciary, I call like I see it, and if I have proof of it, I don't hesitate, and I have proof of it. So if you were offended, maybe you need to know what I know. But just remember, when you walk into a court of law, it's not a court of law. It's a court of cattle
racketeer. Yeah. The kangaroo courts.
It's a cattle. Yeah, it's a cattle. It's a court of cattle rustlers because they're all, they're kangaroo courts.
Yeah.
And we know what they're ran by.
Oh, I know now what I was gonna ask you about or mention is an oligarchy.
Oh man, how long has it been since I've heard that one?
Because that's really what we're talking about is a form of and I was trying to think of how do we
get out of that government? How do we get out of that form of government? Because that's basically what we're into.
Yeah, we are actually. What we're describing is an oligarchy.
We're practicing crackerjack law in kangaroo courts.
Yep. So that's really what we are describing. That is really what we're describing.
Mm-hmm.
Is an oligarchy.
And the courts never tell you what law they're practicing against you in court. So that's a question you have to ask the judge when you get in there and say, "Oh, I need to." If he asks you, "Do you understand?" You go, "Oh, well, Judge, what law are we practicing in this courtroom?"
Yeah.
I got to know how to defend myself. I want to make sure I have my terminology right.
Yeah.
And after he gets through going, that's all, folks. And then you ask him about that color of law fraud he's playing on you over there in the corner by the
yeah.
I mean, you can ask him so many questions. He's gonna want to get off the bench in a hurry. And
absolutely. Especially when you say, "Well, which one? Which one are you referring to?"
Yeah, and they usually fly more than one flag in the courtroom. So and if they're all gold fringed, say, "Man, Judge, I'm really making it rough on me because I don't understand all these gold fringed flags. Can you explain those to me?" That has something to do with color of law fraud, Judge. Can you explain those to me?
That I just really want, that's a good point because, David, really, I mean, no one's probably thought to do that. I mean, or even ask that question the way you just described it. Because I think that if we were to do that, oh my gosh,
well,
I just wondered.
Take that back. Sheila actually asked his judge the last 2 times he was in court why he was flying a martial law flag and how that changed the jurisdiction of the court.
Ooh, cool! Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, all I basically have to do then is just wrap this up. I was just trying to see if there was anything else I was missing. Excuse me.
Okay.
So since I added your beautiful 2 little things you sent me on the 2 different subjects, I am, believe it or not, I am up to 62 pages.
Good. That'll bide some time for them.
Yeah, I think it will. Yeah,
they'll go home and sit on the bed and they'll go, holy crap, this girl did her homework. Woo.
Well, I think, I'm going to be honest with you, David, I think that's why the one detective was, I think he was fighting for me because of what he saw. In other words, he knew that
He knew the difference between what a lawyer normally writes as a detective because he sees their paperwork.
Yeah.
And what you wrote, and he knew the quality of yours was far out becoming the attorney's.
You really think so? God, I hope that's what he was thinking. That would be awesome if
I do.
That'd be awesome.
You deserve that kind of credit.
Well, thank you.
Unmuted.
I've seen it.
Well, thank you. I can't wait till you see it now.
Write it for crying out loud. Yeah, I know it. Okay.
All righty.
Anyway.
Well, buddy, I won't keep you because it's 10:30, and that's what I was doing. Believe it or not, I was just looking to see what else I could throw in there under the conclusion. But I think I got it all. And I start out with the banks can't own property on that case law. The one that Ed or whoever found it. I guess you found that one, Ed.
That's a good one, isn't it?
Well, the funny thing, it's awesome because you know why? It fell right into place with the other information that I had looked up when I was looking up case laws, and I was citing the case laws on that case. So when you shared me that case,
banks can't own land. Where are they putting their bank buildings and their branch buildings? If that is
mortgage companies.
Mortgage companies. Oh, really? Okay.
Well, and you know what? That's a good point because you know what else? Remember, see, now that falls back. Oh boy, that's a good point because that actually falls back on the insurance companies, and in other words, all the insurance companies that they're coming up with, all these different names, Liberty. So it has to do with insurance policies like life insurance policy, term life policies, home insurance policies, any kind of an insurance policy you could think of.
Well, here's a good one for you, Ed, to think about. If these mortgage companies or brokerage countries or whatever it is that own this land, aren't they participating in bank fraud?
Oh, absolutely.
So bingo, you got another person to take to court. Because if
Well,
you were running a drug ring out of one of those, say, wouldn't the government come in and go after you as the owner of the building? So what makes the difference if it's drugs or some other crime?
Well, according to the treaty, it says here that the form of from the Uniform Bonding Code, which is UBC, it says, number 1, many municipal corporations, city, county, state, have equity chosen to operate without malpractice bonding in violation of state corporation public hazard bonding laws, and the lead case that said treaty law cannot be interfered with by a state legislature in war versus, I think you pronounce it Ayton. It's Ayton.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
right.
Pardon?
Go ahead. Ayton, yeah.
Ayton, is that how you say it? Ayton? And it's in 19...
Sure, but yeah.
I think that's how you say it, yeah, Ayton. And that was in 1976.
Okay.
And then it goes on to say, in the Supreme Court held that the treaty is the supreme law of the land, and that's in referenced in Article 6, Section 2.
Uh-huh.
And then it goes on to say, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or the laws of the state to the contrary notwithstanding.
Mm-hmm. That's taken right out of the 16th American jurisprudence.
Now, isn't that amazing? So that just goes to show you that how they're violating the law.
Yeah. So we now have proof of it. So, that's very good, Michelle. That's very good. So my point is well taken, that they're aiding and abetting.
Oh, absolutely. Now, are you ready for this? That verbiage is in the contract, which is Bear versus United States, and that from the Uniform Bonding Code, it's part of it of that case law.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
And that was out of. They also addressed that in 1984 at D.C. out of Alaska.
Right. Yeah, the fact that the Congress and the President want to call themselves a corporation, but yet they don't want to admit to the fact that they're de facto, because when we went back into document 10,009, state of Florida, United States of America, corporation, company,
mm-hmm.
for profit, they made bonds and stocks and sold and bought land and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
That's, once they became a for-profit corporation, they gave up their government entity.
That's true. That you got a point there.
The doctrine that violated.
Well, you want to know something? They actually are citing in that banks can't own property. They actually cite one. There's like more than one case law that they cite in that article, and the other one is that Prustine versus Hinkler. And then there's the one I just told you about, War versus Ayton, and then the other one is Royers Inc. versus United States. And so they're citing three right off the bat, and that's in that article that Ed posted under Banks
Can't. I'm glad you brought
own.
Lawyers Inc. up, because on Dun and Bradstreet they're a registered communist organization.
Under the
Under
Lawyers Inc.?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. No kidding.
Yeah. I dug it
So
up.
there you go. So that, yeah, wow. I'm telling you right now, this is amazing. It's amazing what we've learned, isn't it? Huh?
These lawyers, I don't know if they could.
Well, I don't think my prosecutor's. Yeah. Well, I don't think my prosecutor's going to like me very much when she gets my instrument. Oh, wowzers. They're probably going to go running.
Anyway.
Well, you know what? This is a public record.
Well, you know it. You know it.
And I have public. Yep.
Then once you serve it, we want to make sure it's a public record.
Oh,
Right.
Trust me. I'm electronically putting your signature on the instrument, along with David.
Are they going to sue you for telling the truth?
I'm sorry, I heard some background and cut me off.
Are the lawyers going to sue us for telling the truth?
I don't think so. I mean, boy, they wouldn't be doing a very good job if they did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they would win.
Nope.
Especially after what I just cited on here. I mean, I actually took their own verbiage under Title IX. That's why I was asking you about it. I added that in my paperwork. That's the only thing that I could find that I didn't. In other words.
Well, since the lawyers and the attorneys own Dun & Bradstreet Wall Street, it's getting harder and harder to go in there and find stuff on the judges under Dun & Bradstreet.
I know.
I tried it the other day with another judge for a guy, and I couldn't get anything to come up to where he was traded. He's been on the court long enough. He should have been traded there. So they're intentionally blocking us for getting the information.
Oh, absolutely. The only way that you can kind of like bypass that crap is like is when you're looking up case laws and the verbiage is cited in their case laws as to what had been addressed in court. That's the only way you're going to be able to dig up dirt on them. But you're absolutely right. They're definitely hiding it.
Yeah.
And now that they're on to us, oh my gosh. You can bet your britches that they're going to be doing a lot. They're going to be doing a lot more.
They're going to try to cover their butt as fast as they can too. I say it's
yep.
just their passports so they can't get out of here.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with you. Well, listen, I'm gonna. Go ahead.
Another thing I wanted to talk about tonight, Ed, was where is the accountability of an executive order? Who holds the president accountable for the executive order, and where is the check and balance system of an executive order?
Ooh, you know something? I think I touched on that. Hang on, let me see if I have that in my paperwork. I know I saw that. I was just reading on that earlier.
Because the last I knew, the President of the United States does not have legislative authority. So in an executive order, he cannot legislate. That's up to the legislature. He can't write it first and then pass it to Congress to pass it into legislation.
Right.
That's getting the horse before the cart, or behind the cart.
Well, you're correct. That's right, because in other words, whatever the president does or says has to go in front of Congress first, and that's why it has to be voted on, which is the 3/4 of the vote.
Yeah, but how much of this stuff that Trump's passing? How much of it's going in for vote? I haven't seen any of it going in to vote.
Well, unless it was done under secrecy and they're not objecting to it, I would think that if they weren't for it, they would have, in other words, they would have been out, they would have been whining, hey, we didn't,
he's writing too many executive orders too fast for Congress just to ignore all of them. especially the way the Democratic Party hates him.
Oh, I
Any
agree.
executive order he's putting out there that the Democrats would be all over it.
Absolutely.
And they're criticizing him, but are they stopping him? No.
No, that's because they know that they don't have they don't have nowhere to stand if they on it. Evidently, in other words, regarding he's not really doing anything.
I mean, they certainly have to have a brain in their friggin' head to know that the President of the United States does not have legislative authority constitutionally established. So get your head out of your butt, Mr. President, and stop these executive orders until we have a chance to look at them legislatively to find out whether or not we're going to agree with it.
Well, that I agree with.
For the executive order, it's null and void.
Yeah, has he wrote another executive order? I'm not aware of that.
He writes them every day.
Oh. Well, isn't that amazing? Because that seems to be the thing that they do nowadays is these executive orders.
Well, Congress has the attitude. Well, we'll pass the legislation, then we'll amend it later. That's not what. Not what your Jefferson manual says. The Jefferson manual says because you only replace congressmen every 2 years and senators every 6. So the Jefferson manual that you wrote for your rules of order, you can't suspend the rules.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Or every member of Congress has to be in his seat, the bill read for 3 consecutive days before a vote's taken.
Yeah, I don't even think they're doing that anymore, are they?
No, you're lucky if you can get 10 people in Congress when they vote on it.
Well, and have you ever watched them too? Have you ever noticed that those that are sitting in there, and they're supposed to be having a session going on, and you see them on their cell phones, or they look like they're sleeping, or they look like they're about ready to fall over, that either from a hangover or they're, high on something?
Hangover.
Huh?
Probably hangover.
Okay.
Oh.
Well,
you and our congressmen and senators are on the weed.
Well, I mean, no joke. I mean, it's like, oh my God. It's like, why don't you just go?
Point. That's a point well taken there, Toasted, because when was the last time we required our members of Congress to take a drug test?
Yeah. I mean, really.
I think that all cops should take a drug test. I wrote a bill for it in Oregon for all cops and senators to take a drug test, and I had a few support me, but a lot of people went against me. But then they want everybody on welfare to get drug tested, and my attitude is nobody should be tested until before these men and women are tested. You need to be tested.
Well, I agree. Yeah, I agree. What goes around comes around.
And the other point for senators that are on psychological medication should not.
That's a good point, too.
What the hell are you doing in office for?
Bingo.
Yeah. Well, no joke. I mean, pay attention. Now that I brought it to your attention, I mean, when I watch them on TV, even on TV, or, because I like to go to their own websites just to check them out to see what they're doing. And I'm not kidding. It's like some of them look like they're high. Some look like they can't even barely stay awake. And then those that are there, a lot of them got their nose into their cell phones, and they're not even listening to what's being said.
Exactly.
Well, I put up a videotape of them watching pornographic movies while they were in Senate session.
Oh, there you go. So, yeah. So, if they're not going to be there with their heads where they should be, how can they say or vote or take a vote if they're not listening to what's being said?
They can't. Honestly, they can't.
Right.
You wonder why this country got the message in? Because we have dimwits sitting in Congress who don't know how to do the job they're elected to do. They don't have.
Yeah.
They probably don't have a clue what the office even requires.
Most
Probably
of
not.
them do.
So you have to wonder, how the hell did they even get in there? And then, well, I guess it was in other words, family member.
Look at the election campaign laws that they put up. Sorry,
Yeah.
they committed treason against the Constitution because the Constitution's already set term limits. These guys
Oh,
were in
that's
office
true.
for generations, for God's sake.
Well, that's a good point too, David. They're violating that, aren't they?
Yes.
And it's, well, you know what? Not only are they violating that, but just like the gentleman on the phone earlier, we're allowing them to get away with the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
We should, you know what we should do? We should start passing out statements. Don't vote for lawyers.
Well, we don't want to vote for lawyers. We don't want to vote for people who've been in office more than one term.
Yep.
Why is anybody voting for any of them?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, for those of you out there in YouTube land, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this show available to download in the description. Just remember, all rights reserved. I yield.
That is true. So, Dave, why don't you go ahead and button up your end, and I'll button up mine.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I trust that we didn't ramble on to the point where we drove you insane. There is so much out there. So many thoughts go through your host, co-hosts' minds during this show. We're trying to enlighten you and educate you on your government. And so in doing so, we trust we are living up to the purpose of what we intended to do. And we invite you back next week for more of an enlightenment to help you live your life better. With that, Ed, I will say good night and good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Michelle. Anyhow, I would like to thank all for joining us. We are not lawyers. We are not attorneys. We are not in the system. We are just reading their administrative rules, their laws, their structure, what they have to personally go by. Remember, these men and women are liable. So that is the point. You have to realize these men and women are liable. Okay, and you can make sure that they are liable by writing your criminal complaints on them. If you don't file your criminal complaints, it does not exist. It's called hearsay. So don't get yourself caught up into hearsay structures. Please educate yourself, educate your children, and please read the Constitution. Believe in the Constitution. The Constitution is our instrument once you become lawful bloodline American. If we don't keep the bloodline going for the Constitution, there is no future. There is no future. So I, with that, would like to say good night to everybody. May the Great Spirit, Mother Earth bless you, travel with you. And please remember, always remember to carry yourself with honor and respect. Always read the law of what it says. Statute and codes and administration apply to elected and public servants, registered church members, registered voters, and immigration. That's the way it really works. The law says it, so we have to go by the law. And that's what we want for our country, is the Constitution law, not statute, codes, and administration of our elected and public servants. With that, I end, and may the Great Spirit walk with you.
This is Toasted with Revolution News and Information. It's currently 7:58 Pacific Time on 5/1/2017, technically May Day. Thanks for watching. Join us again next week. And once again, the show will be available to download in the description below as soon as I put it down there. Anyway, peace. This is Toasted.